everybody, and welcome to Encite Live. My name is Nika Yushkevich, and I am the social media manager, now digital marketing strategist here at Encite. And, and I'm joined here today with Adam, who is our president. And today we wanted to talk about an article about Twitter, where after all these leadership changes and everything, Elon Musk has decided to create a subscription premium offering, which allows anybody who purchases the subscription to not see ads on Twitter because they need to get revenue from somewhere. So that is the plan that Elon Musk kind of came up with, which is pretty interesting. Leadership dynamics at Twitter have been pretty crazy so far, ever since he took over. So I think this is kind of his plan on improving the whole Twitter Blue thing that happened, because they did need to gain revenue somehow. It was on the road to bankruptcy. I mean, Elon Musk even mentioned it was like a plane that was on fire, like going down and about to crash. So with Twitter Blue, that definitely didn't help, even though that was kind of his plan to gain that revenue. So now I guess he's switching over to this new subscription offering with no ads. So kind of interesting, definitely going to be interesting for advertisers, especially because now they know that only the people who aren't purchasing this subscription are going to be the ones that they can advertise to on social media. Yeah. So going to be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I read the article as well, and there was a statistic in there that the ad revenue dropped like 40%, like straight away, like Audi, Pfizer, all these kind of big, multinational and huge Fortune 500 companies are just like jumping ship, right? And that was like their big issue. So advertising revenue plummeted, right? I mean, 40% drop is enormous. Yeah. And that was all stemmed from the uncertainty of the leadership. Like that kind of stuff affects, and the erratic behavior, and all those kinds of different things. So, I mean, that's a big deal. But he did say something too. Elon said that they were trying to do less advertising because the ads were too big. There's too many of them.
Yeah, he's not very pro advertisers or pro advertisements for whatever reason, especially like with not taking the Twitter Blue thing seriously, and then from Apple pulling out of ads on Twitter, then going and attacking Apple over the fact that they did that. So he seems, for such a corporate entity, he seems very anti-advertising. Yeah. On a social media platform, which is kind of, I don't know, a little bit of an enigma.
Yeah, but we're all used to advertising, right? Like, and I think that, I mean, it makes sense to sell a subscription. I think the subscription model makes sense. If you're going to sell a subscription model, you get a benefit. The benefit being, hey, I don't have to look at ads anymore. But we're also used to, like, all the social platforms are free to jump on, right? Like, I can make multiple Facebook pages. I can make multiple Instagram accounts. But there is a cost to that, right? And they have to make money somehow, right? Yeah. And so, and us as marketers, we want to reach people, right? But I think it's beneficial for us on social because we can get granular on those ads, right? We can say we need to find males 44 to 65 that live in Georgia. Boom, we can do that, right? Like, so I understand where he's coming from as trying to move that model, because there's a segment of people that would say, you know what, I will pay, I think it's $8. I'll pay $8 a month.
I don't know how many people that's going to be, because
who knows? But
I mean, I don't even see that many ads on Twitter personally. Whenever I'm scrolling through my feed, I see maybe like 1 or 2 ads pop up once every 20 minutes. So I don't know how successful that's going to be. I don't see Twitter as like how he described it, as ads are too big. Like, I just don't see that. And I don't think a lot of advertisers are even prioritizing Twitter anyway. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully things will work out for him and Twitter, I guess. Otherwise, they're kind of screwed. But
yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see what kind of subscription rates that they get. I mean, I know it's only $8 a month. I bet there's a segment that would. I'm sure they have the research, right? Yeah. And I would think that a lot of the media are on Twitter because they do a lot of breaking news on Twitter, and it's just kind of like that. the platform that the media does. So I mean, there's a lot of those people. So you know, they have to offset the 40% drop in ad revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm agree with you. I don't think I see a whole lot of ads on Twitter, or at least I don't like notice them as much.
Yeah.
I notice them a lot on Facebook and Instagram because
yeah.
there's a lot of ad inventory on those two platforms.
Yeah. YouTube as well.
Yep.
So many ads. I mean, basically every video
Can't
has
get
an
away
ad.
from that.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and it's definitely all due to like everything that's happening is due to this whole leadership change with Elon Musk, and that's I mean, for better or for worse, that's how it is right now.
But it's scary to have a leader, if I'm a Twitter employee, that have a leader talking about bankruptcy on a company he just bought for $44 billion.
Yeah,
like
that's interesting
that's
too, because I don't 100% know if this is true, but I'm pretty sure Elon Musk bought that as like a joke or like on a whim.
I've heard
and
this.
And then he tried to back out of it, but the government wouldn't let him because they were like, well, I mean, you did what you did. Like, we're sorry. You own the company now. You don't have a choice in the matter. So it's kind of all been thrust, and I mean,
that's weird.
He's seeing the consequences of his own actions right now. He's no longer the richest man in the world. Right. I mean, he's still God.
Yeah,
unbelievably rich. But
there's also his stock. Tesla stock has started to like plummet as well because it's because of his. You know, I mean, obviously leadership, public perception, PR. I mean, that all affects multiple businesses. So, you know, we always talk about this. We're always like, oh, here's our take, what we think, but we're not in those meetings. We're we're not privy to kind of like the strategy behind it. So there's some of this is speculation, but all we see is, you know, the results, and we're like, what the heck is going on, right?
I mean, even with Tesla, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk was just kind of like the public figure of the company, but he didn't really do a ton behind the scenes as to the actual product. And I think this is like his first real effort into trying to make a company work. And, you know, there's a lot of Elon Musk fans out there. And if you guys are watching too, the proof is in the pudding. So we'll see. I'm not going to make any assessments right now, but we'll see how things kind of go down. And
we may be proven wrong, right? And all of a sudden it's going to rebound and be better than ever.
Yeah.
So that brings us to kind of like an internal discussion about leadership changes, because we have a wide variety of clients and doing business. Inevitably, some clients come, some clients go. They take their marketing internally. They go a different direction, whatever. So it's like I think that's a really good discussion about how we work with leadership changes within organizations. And one of our clients is in the education space. They change quite frequently, but we've luckily been lucky enough to kind of work with the leadership, and that's been passed on to us, you know. But I think that there's times where another leader comes in and they have a different vision, direction. They have another agency that they like to work with. They have another, resources that they want to use, and that's it's a bummer for us. But that's that's the nature of it. So I think it's really kind of interesting to make sure that we've kind of build relationships with those leaders as they come in. We start to develop out our vision and what the previous leadership's vision was and why we're doing the things that we're doing. Because from an outside perspective, you don't really know. This is a good example. From an outside perspective, we don't really know what the strategy is. But if leadership changes on one of our clients, we sit down with that new leadership and say, hey, here's the strategy. I mean, this isn't the end all be all, right? There's a bunch of ways to skin a cat, as they say, and so we can shift strategy if their vision's a little bit different, you know. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you would expect leadership to have like checks and balances within the organization, but it actually comes down to, at least through our experience, that when a new leader comes in, it really isn't so much like control is like divvied out. It's more like this leader now has more authority over everybody else to make those types of decisions. And so having those relationships, and I mean just personal relationships within like between clients and stuff like that, is super important. Just having like that rapport.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but I think that going back to what we talk a lot about is, our brand strategy product, and whether or not a client can afford or wants to pursue kind of a brand strategy and have that physical. Well, it's not physical. It's always digital. We don't print it out, but the brand brief document that outlines all of those things. That's a big deal to hand to the next leadership, right?
Absolutely.
And say, hey, this is all the research that we've done. This is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. Could they disagree with it? Of course they could, right? Could they shift that? But we always talk about brand briefs, brand strategies can shift, can evolve, but we need to have that kind of that foundation there. And I think that's a pretty powerful piece.
Absolutely.
To keep leadership on track or to inform them,
Yeah, and I think the strategy piece is super important as well, especially with Twitter and everything that we do. I think, it kind of just goes to show that strategy is at the root of everything. And it's you always have to consider your strategy no matter what sort of area you're working in. It all comes back to your strategy. So.
Yeah. And this is very timely. I just got an email from a client that we did a brand strategy for. They are in the cannabis space. We're in Colorado. Cannabis is a big deal here. But they're looking at an acquisition. Somebody's coming through and acquiring their business. But we always talked about that brand strategy, that brand brief being an asset to when you are being acquired, to saying, hey, we've already done all this work.
And making sure that the company that acquires them kind of sees their vision, so that they're not selling to somebody who's just going to completely destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. and that thing in this particular instance is they reached out to me looking back for the brand brief document so they could provide it to the new ownership, and my response is well, once the acquisition is done, introduce us. I'd love to sit down with them and tell them this is exactly why we did what we did. If their vision is different, that's fine. We can come in and help do that, right? And help revise that. But I want to that document is meant to stand on its own, right? It's meant to be read, but it's a lot of information, right?
It
and it can be overwhelming. But so I wanted to kind of go through and walk through the new leadership with what we did and why we did what we did. So they can understand it and they can use it, and they can, if they want to use it, they can use it, and they know how to use it. And so, because I think it's very powerful for them,
Absolutely.
So it's exciting.
So that was Twitter. That was internal. Thank you guys for joining us on Encite Live today, and we'll see you again next time.
See ya.